1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it means that it has 6 values. So 0 to 6, let me store the values into this array and let me display the values from the array. So that is the meaning of this particular statement. So let me run this particular array and we could see that array can be created and it can store some values, and now we are going to display the first one 0, the second one 1, the next one 2 into 2 4, 3 into 3 9, and 4 into 4 16, and 5 into 5 25, and then the last one we are done and it closes the loop. So this is the meaning of array. And how do we declare the dynamic array? Never give the index. Never give the index. If you don't give the index, this becomes dynamic array. And as part of the variables naming conventions, a variable cannot use the same variable name which is already declared, because that would become difficult. So let's not use the same name. Let me use another name, my info1. So this is the meaning of declaration and using the arrays. And then we talked about the next one called constant. What is constant? Constant is the keyword const, and I would say my name. And what's my name? My name is on QA, and the my name variable would never change because it is static, which is constant, and which always has the name value called on QA. This is called constants declaration and constant utilization, which would never change their values. And then there are operations. What operations? Arithmetic operations. What is the meaning of arithmetic operations? The arithmetic operations what we have is the plus. Example, message box 10 plus 20, and similarly message box I would say 100 minus 50, and message box 50 into 4, and message box 50 integer division by 5, message box 55 divided by or backward divided by 4, and then message box, let me say mod. What is the mod? Let me say 55 mod 5, and let me say message box, we have a number called 100 and I wanted to represent that by a negation, so I would use this negation. So that would become automatically a minus number. And then concatenation, I would say message box my name and my ID. So when I say my name, my ID, it would concatenate my name variable value and my ID variable value, and it can display as a one value because it is going to concatenate. So let me run this piece of code one by one. We would see what is happening with the additional arithmetic operations. Let's see. Let me run from this particular line. We would see it would begin executing one by one. The first one, let's see, it would return 30, correct? The next one, it would return 50, correct? The third one, it would return 200, perfect. And the next one, it would return the 10, perfect. The next one, it would return 13.4, right? And the next one, it would return the mod. While it is divided by 5, the remainder is 0, correct? The next one, it has to return minus 100 because it is the unary negation. It converts a number into negative while we use this. And then the next one is concatenation, my name and my ID. So this is the meaning of arithmetic operations. And now let's go and see the next one. The next one, what we see is the comparison operators. Now let's see the comparison operators. So in the comparison operators, we have equal. So I would say if A equal to B, then message box A is equal to B. And similarly, let me just copy this. I would say the other things. And what is A? I would say A equal to 100 and B equal to 200, for example. And in this one, if A not equal to B, then say A is not equal to B. And in this one, if A greater than B, then A is greater than B. If A is less than B, then I would say A is less than B. Similarly, if I say A greater than or equal to B, I would say A is greater than or equal to B. I'm trying to show you simple examples with respect to the simple operations. And then we have equal, not equal, less than, greater than, less than or equal, and greater than or equal. So this should be less than and this should be greater than. So we have all the operations. So one more thing pending is. What is is? So let me say, let me declare dim my array, which is of 5 element. Now I would ask my QTP to verify is it array, my array? So that indicates it's going to cross check if my array is a variable of category array. So that is the meaning of. So let's go and run from this step one by one. Let me run. So as we run, we should see this different operations, comparison operations being done. Let me close this. Let's run one by one. The first one is A equal to B? No. And we would see, you will not see that message at all. And if A not equal to B? No. Yes, this is not equal to B. So we should see this message. Let's see. And we should see A is not equal to B. Correct. The third one. Is A greater than B? No. So we cannot see this message. Next one. If A less than B? Yes. So we should see this message. And we could see A is less than B. Next one. Is A less than or equal to B? It is less than. So we should see that symbol. We should see that message. Next one. A is not greater. So we cannot see that symbol. We cannot see that message. Is it an array? We are using is function. Is it an array? That should return true there. Okay. I think I have used a different variable. It is my array, but I have used my array. So this is not an array variable. So it has given false. So this is working. So this is the meaning of using the different comparison operations. Equal, not equal, greater than or equal, greater than or equal, and is. Similarly, let's go and see the operations called logical operations called not and or and these three. So let's go and see that. How do we see these operations? So let me just to demonstrate this, let me take an application so that I can demonstrate with a good example for you. So let me go to the application. Let me settle them. Now let me store this application into object repository. And I'm just getting the object repository and let me add the entire page. Once the entire page is added, now let's go back. Now since we wanted to see this, let me say if not my browser exists. Within 5 seconds, you message box indicating browser does not exist, and I would also concatenate can't execute the test. Okay, the next statement, this is example to the not negation. Next one, if my browser exists, and okay, let me use these two objects. Let me say set my O page is equal to some browser and some page. Let me cut this line and paste on top of this. Now I would use here in my page if webedit username exists and in my page with respect to link called om example, if this also exists for 5 seconds or 4 seconds or 3 seconds, whatever, now you display a message box, both om link and username edit box or existing. I'm just using the different information. And let me copy this line. Now go back and say or. When I say or, anyway, both should be available here. But in this case, either this or this, anything can be available. And what is next? This is a 3. Let me run this piece of code now. Run from this particular step. And we could see how it is being executed. The first one, let me run. Now you could see that both om link and username edit box are existing. Perfect. And why it is not? Because we said not, but by default the browser is existing. So it has skipped that. So both are existing. And again, since we said or, either this exists or that exists. That is the meaning of the logical operations and not and or. There is another operation equivalence, and we would see that during the string manipulations. So this is all about the different fundamentals of VBScript, the variables declaration, the global and local declaration type category, the variant, and then the different operations which we can use, arrays, and the simplest information what we need to get started with the VBScript. And in the next session, we are going to talk about in detail the VBScript implementation. So thank you so much. Please visit ownqo.com. So let me summarize so far what we have discussed today in this session. So in this session, we talked about the simplest practical approach of the fundamentals of VBScript. We started declaring the variables. We started knowing what is a variable. We started knowing the variable types. There is only one variable type in VBScript called variant. And to declare the variables, we should use the keyword called dim. And by default, variables declaration in VBScript is optional. We don't need to declare. But if we wanted to make sure and make mandatory of declaring variables, there is a string called option explicit, and that would make all the variables to be declared. And variables can be declared in two ways: public, private, global, local. And we have seen that in a different functions. And then arrays. Array can be declared in the same way of normal variables. The only difference, array should have parentheses. And there are two kinds of array types: fixed length array and followed by dynamic array. And then we talked about the different operations: arithmetic operations, comparison operations, and then logical operations. So that's all about, we looked into the fundamentals of VBScript practical approach. The next session, we'll talk about loops and conditions and different statements. So thank you so much. Please visit ownqo.com. There are so many videos, presentations, articles, books, PDFs with respect to automation, test management, performance testing, and functional testing. So thank you. See you again.